Here's a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's found in a book called Likuti Sichot, a collection of the Rebbe's speeches. There's like 42, 43 books of these speeches. But here we have a speech given in 1950. It's the end of 1954. Okay, first of all, there'll be some of these deal with Hanukkah, but this one doesn't happen to do with Hanukkah. This one talks about Parshas Vayeshev. Here we go. On the pasuk it says Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv. It says that Yaakov lived in the place, the land where the dwelling place of his father in the land of Canaan. That's how this week's Torah portion starts off. We're learning about this and with a similar interpretation in the book Torah or in the morning class. But here we go. It's repeating basically the same ideas, but the ideas are very deep and very practical. On the pasuk it says, "Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv be'eretz Canaan." That's how this week's Torah portion starts off. That Yaakov dwelled in the place where his father dwelled, in the land of Canaan. Taich there, Medrash Magid, the Magid of Medrash, he was the successor of the Baal Shem Tov, pupil and the successor. Vayeshev Yaakov, the Yaakov is given, let me make this bigger 1 minute, I'll make this bigger so it's easier for me to read. There we save myself a lot of squinting. Excuse me, I'm just trying to get my pointer back. Here it goes. It says that Yaakov lived in the place, he dwelled in the place of the dwelling of his fathers. Types the Mezritcher Magid, the Magid of the Magid, the lecturer, the teacher of the city of Mezrich. It says Vayeshev Yaakov. His name was Dovber of Mezrich. That was his name. Vayeshev Yaakov. Yaakov was eingesetzt b'yeshiva b'akva b'eretz. That Yaakov went and he put himself into the land in Erdishkeit, in mundane activities. So Libvos, why did Yaakov, who was such a holy person, lower himself down into such mundane activities? In order to in order to gather together migurei. What's migurei? The word magur means a gathering. The nitzutzos, the sparks, the holy sparks, which were found in gashmiastika, physical zachen things. Unzeitarheben to Aviv and lift them up to his Father in heaven. So totally not the simple meaning. The simple meaning that Yaakov lived in the land of Israel. And at that time it was called the land of Canaan before the Jews entered into it after leaving Egypt. But now it's called Eretz Canaan. Why is it called Eretz Canaan? We'll see. But here it says Vayeshev Yaakov, that Yaakov brought himself down and was totally occupied in Be'eretz, in physical things, Be'eretz, in the earth, Yeshev Yaakov Be'eretz, Yaakov put himself down. Jacob, the father of Judaism, put himself down into totally mundane things which had no apparent connection to God or to religion or to Judaism, to anything, just a normal living, just like an animal deals with things, eating, sleeping. That's what Yaakov put himself down into. Why? Migurei, in order to gather together the sparks of holiness, Aviv, from his father, namely God. Aviv Shebashamayim. Uchach, as the yeshiva, and because this, that Yaakov dwelled, was a tremendous, in physical, mundane things, it was a tremendous descent. Is as dober mir nit wie zu weit zu Zeit veil Zeit veilig. It's only temporary. Und davka durch them, and only by this temporarily being totally involved in the world, kommt zu tosfos aliyah, comes to an extra addition in his connection to the creator of the universe. In other words, again, we're going over this constant theme which Hasidut is trying to bring out to us, that going to heaven is not a goal. It's a nice thing. It's a byproduct of the goal. But the goal is to serve God. And how do you serve God? By dealing with simple things in this world the way that God wants you to. That's what it says, Beneretz Canaan. That's why it says in the end of the sentence that Yaakov dwelled in the place of the gathering together. He gathered in this world. He lived in this world in order to gather together the sparks of holiness. Magure means gathering together in the land of Canaan. What does it Canaan mean? Canaan is business. Like it says, Kanani od bebeis Hashem. Lo od Kanani. There won't be any businessman in the house of God. Und in Mischar führt sich, and in business, anyone who's a businessman knows that what is the whole point of business? That you want to make a profit. And that you don't do man always guilt, that you expend money and later on for thing in order to earn more. Via Zoyashte, like it says, Yesh Mafaza Venosavod. Like it says, there are some that can spend money in order to make money. It's in Proverbs. The Horah, what is the teaching from this? A Jew, darf nit suchen kein große Sachen davka. You don't have to look to do big, great, holy, spiritual, grandiose things. You get your picture in the paper, etc. Nor sein avoda, but your service, darf sein, should be so neufkleben, to gather together, mavora sein, to refine, and mala, and to elevate, sein the nitzutzes, the sparks from holiness, which are found in weltische Sachen, in physical things. To be a religious person and not lock yourself up, and that this is also, it's okay. It's an interesting thing to do, and it could be you're going to go to heaven. You'll get all these big rewards, but that is not the reason why we're in the world. We're not in the world in order to get out of the world. We're not in the world for selfish gains. We're in the world that God should make profit. That's what it says, that we're in this world that Mardarv Zen is torn. Aviv, his father, to thine father. You have to do everything for the sake of your father in heaven. Yisrael Nimshul Devora says that the Jewish people are compared to a bee, not like bees, hornets, bees. Ma Devora, just like a bee. Kol ma shemisagelet enu misagelet ela labala. Kach Yisrael, whatever the bee makes, it only makes it for the owner of the bee, or for the hive. Kach, the Jewish people, the same thing. Kol masha osim, everything the Jewish people do, they do only for the sake of their Father in heaven. Yidden zayin geglichen to bees, they're like a bean, a bee. So the same thing he says in Yiddish. A bean ve als was nemt Orion is nor foreign balabayas. It's all for the owner, the person who's the beekeeper. Also the Jewish people, also for Zaytun, everything which they do is thus for Zayin Father in heaven. It's only for the sake of God in heaven. Nit kind of oda not kind knows we're not here in the world in order to receive rewards. Or to kriegen Belohnung, a profit in Gashmias, physical or spiritual. No, the ganzen avoda, our whole service is to serve our Father in heaven. Right? Listen, there are certain opinions which say, and very valid opinions, and very, respected and also correct opinions, that the reason we're in this world is in order to inherit the world to come. Right? That's the whole purpose, is to inherit the world to come. But number one, that's not what Chassidut picks. There's a lot of different reasons why it says why God created the world, because he wants to do us good, he wants to benefit. But that's not the reason that Chassidut picks. Chassidut agrees with all these other reasons. There certainly are very valid reasons to serve God, and the motivations and inspirations to be a religious Jew. But it's not, how do you say, the ultimate truth. It's like being a doctor because you make a lot of money, or you're respected. They call you doctor in front, put a doctor in front of your name, people listen to what you say. All those things are true. But the reason a person should be a doctor is because he wants to heal people. He loves health. Can't stand to see people suffer. It's the same thing. The reason that we're Jews is not that we should get personal benefit, even though there are those things. But the ideal is to do it for the sake of the creator of the universe. In order to poilen by zich, in order to affect by yourself, as in der avoda, that in your service you should not arayin chapen kain penius, you shouldn't have any ulterior motives. Is das durich avoda, you have to be simple, and you have to deal with simple things. B'shas is when he is, I'm sorry, b'shas hat sutan, when a person only wants to deal with high, spiritual, holy things, from Havana Vasaga, understanding, grasping, learning Kabbalah, learning Gemara, learning Torah, those things are very good, and they're necessary. But if we limit ourselves only to those things, as dort and then kainen zich areinchap, and then there can be all sorts of ulterior motives. You compare yourself to somebody else. I'm smarter than he is. I'm better than he is, etc. In order to have your service should be a reign, in order that you should have pure service of God, anpanias, without any ulterior motives. Is das durich avoda pshuta, and yoni pshutim davka? It's only in simple things. The Rebbe, just like the previous Rebbe said, Lubavitcher Rebbe said, had gesagt said, as the pshitos from anishim pshutim, that the simplicity from simple people for binzich is connected with the simple essence of God. Here also, the pshitos from avoda, the simpleness of service in yanyanim pshutim and simple things, this for binzich with pshitos asmos, by working with simple things, this connects you with the simplicity of the oneness of God. I just am reminded of a story, and I want to tell this story. I think this really indicates this very well. There was a very great rabbi, a genius rabbi. His name was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, and he was very, very well versed in anything that dealt with Jewish law, and he also learned, books of Kabbalah and things like this. But his main thing is the books of law. He was tremendously talented at it, and he was very devoted to it. And he was able to answer questions. People that had questions in law, where it wasn't clear to them what to do, so they would ask him. And sometimes very, very complicated and controversial questions. Also, he stated very clear opinions. He had very clear opinions, and he brought, proofs for his opinions, so that everybody could check up on what he was saying. Anyway, so he was a big genius. He was a genius person and a tremendously talented person and a devoted person. He was a leader. He was also a leader. He was a leader. A lot of people really respected his opinion, and he was a great man, a famous man, a well-known man. Anyway, he passed away. I don't remember which year it was he passed away. It was something like 1997 or something like that. Anyway, he passed away. He was very also a very tremendously respected and friendly with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And they respected one another and they were very friendly with one another. They had a whole correspondence. In any case, so he passed away. The story goes he passed away. And that after he passed away, a week or two after he passed away, the simple lady came. She didn't know that he had passed away. She came to his house, and he used to receive simple people from the street. Anybody who wanted to could come and ask him questions. And this lady came, and she saw there was no line. She said, "What happened? Did he change the day that he's receiving people? I have something I would like to ask him." So he said, "Well, didn't you hear? The rabbi passed away." Oh, she was very sad. He passed away, and she cried. And they said, "But if you have any questions, you can ask us. We can." I mean, with a very simple lady, what difficult questions she had? And his pupils were also geniuses. His pupils were, tremendously talented, and they knew law. And for sure, they would know any law that she would, any question that she had. I mean, basically, a simple woman like that, she has a question about almost everything. So it could be the most simple question. So she said, "Oh, okay, that's good. Do any of you speak Russian?" So they said, no, we don't speak Russian, but you speak English very well. You can ask the question and we'll try to answer you in English. She said, no. I have a sister that lives in Russia. And every couple of weeks, every once a month or something, she writes me a letter, but she only can write in Russian. And I would bring it to the rabbi and he would sit and translate it for me. And now the rabbi is not here. So what do we see? That he was a great person, and every moment of his life was certainly very precious. I mean, he had a lot of things to do, and he was also learned Torah constantly. But he took out his half an hour or whatever it was for the simple lady just to translate a letter for her in Russian. He could have, sent her to somewhere else to translate Russian. But in order to do a favor for another Jew, and so that's what's calling dealing with simple things. But dealing with simple things, that connects you to the simpleness of God. That's what he said. He loved the simple people. That connects to the essence, simplicity of God. What does is this is the thing of Kabbalat Ol, which is called accepting the yoke. In other words, unquestioningly serving God. Was to leave them, Vert Angeruf and Eden. That's why the Jews are called the army of God. They're Eibishter's army. Just like a soldier doesn't ask questions, he takes orders and he does what he's supposed to do. Varum, because they're Inyan from a Zellner, the thing of a soldier, is Kabbalah soul, is to accept on himself the yoke, not to ask any questions, to go and even risk his life. And that's the essence of the Jewish people. They're called Tzvot Hashem, the armies of God. What does is the Peshat, that's what it means, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Megurei Aviv, that Yaakov dwelled in the land of the Megurei Aviv. We said of the gatherings of his fathers. The gatherings of Bechdei Kuman, in order to acquire, to reach this level of his father, was that you want to come close to God, as ein ganze avoda, that your whole service should be only for your Father in heaven, is thus dorech eretz megurei aviv. This is by means of eretz megurei. What does it mean there? Very simple service, gathering to these simple sparks of godliness, an chachmas, without any deep, cleverness, on an pshatlach, and without any trying to, put in your own interpretations. Was demo, which then a person can lose verlieren sich alle penios und men verbinden sich mit aviv. Then you get rid of all of your ulterior motives and you connect yourself with your Father in heaven. So of course the Rebbe is not suggesting that we shouldn't use our mind. Certainly we should use our mind. And he's not suggesting we shouldn't ask questions. You should ask questions. But your service of God does not depend on the answers, whether you get an answer or not. And your basic attitude has to be that I just want to get things done. Whatever I have to do, I want to do. So let's say you work in a job. So you work the job, whatever it is, honestly and simply, and you get, to the best way possible. And you don't leave early and you don't come late and you don't cheat and you don't lie and you don't try to cut corners. in simple things. Und das ist the Anweisung, this is the teaching from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov, he did the service of Birurim, he was refining the world. Is gegangen, kein Haran, he went to this terrible place called Haran, und gebracht, and gearbeit, and he worked with the sheep of Lavan, und gor stark gearbeit, and he worked very, very hard. Like it says, in the daytime, it was blazing hot, and in the nighttime it was freezing cold, and I didn't sleep. There was no sleep in my eyes. On Oyser Harvanya is given in Oich Sarvam Guf, and in addition to the hard work that he also had, how do you say, pain. He suffered. It was physical, actually suffering. Yaakov was a human being. Was for them, because of that, bring the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe brings a proof as Chacha mentioned that even though a person, he brings a proof in his Shulchan Aruch, laws of Choshen Mishpat. He brings a proof that a person's body does not belong to him, and a person is not allowed to make himself suffer for no reason. That's one of the reasons why you're not supposed to make piercings and all these things, because your body doesn't really belong to you. Or if a person, God forbid, decides he wants to maim himself for some bizarre reason. Nowadays, it's also very common. People do all sorts of incredibly terrible things to themselves. So a person that wants to do this, as you can't, because it's not in your possession. So you can ask, if so, then how could Yaakov suffer so greatly? And it says, Hadnit kind of person has not got any permission to to wound or to make any sort of a blemish in your body. To schlagen or pinkin im, in order to a person cannot hit himself or give himself pain, vile, because the Jewish body, not everybody's body, here nitzuim is not your possession, it belongs to God. But from this vegan, nevertheless, the tzorich, if it's necessary, in other words, if it's necessary in order to make a livelihood, or if it's a really truly spiritual reason, then it's permissible. And that's what Yaakov did. He worked so hard and with such energy, even though it meant tremendous suffering for his father-in-law. Lavan. Although Yaakov, Kain Kashas, and Yaakov never asked any questions. He didn't ask any questions. Un gegangen ton, and he did his service and avodas habirurim in refining the world in a way of kabbalatol, accepting the yoke. Unagam hat as kitan, and even though he did it with kabbalatol, just like accepting the yoke. Kabbalatol means accepting the yoke. It's like an ox that you yoke the ox up to the cart, and the ox doesn't have to ask any questions, and everybody benefits from that. The ox gets fed, he gets protected, he gets a place to sleep, and the owner goes to places where he couldn't go on his own. So everybody benefits. But the ox has to do exactly what the owner says. That's called kabbalatol. Of course, the big difference is the ox doesn't put the yoke on itself, and we have to put the yoke on ourselves. And of course, our owner, and in this case, is God. Hat dam ketan Yaakov, he did everything, and he did it with a tremendous joy. What he did, 20 years, it says that Lavan tricked him and deceived him. Via state, like it says, Vayisa Yaakov es raglav. That says that Yaakov, he got good news and he lifted his feet up. He was happy. He was dancing. He was going. And durch them, by means of this, his nit nor not only by him nitkeven kan. You read it wasn't any descent. Exactly the opposite. It says by Yaakov mitata shlemo, that his family was complete. Mit all in yanim, with everything. Darten mit and he took all of the riches because he had this attitude that he's only serving the creator of the universe. And because of that, it ended up that the creator of the universe gave him all that he could possibly. It says, Vayishakeo, and even more. It says that Lavan, who was his father-in-law, his big enemy that cheated him so many times, he said that he actually kissed him, and he said he blessed him afterwards. Eratim Gekush, he gave him a kiss, mit ganzen heart, with his whole heart. When Oich meant Canaan. That's another meaning of Canaan. Canaan means business, physical. As is reich gewern mit a größer Ashirus, that he actually became physically rich. A sach miraf and freer more than before. The Rebbe said this many times, that every Jew is supposed to be rich, supposed to be wealthy. And of course, the reason is in order to give charity, to help them to build places of learning and prayer and such. Und this is an anweisung, this is a teaching to every single Jew. As dorach them, by means of this vayeshev maguri aviv, by means of accepting on ourselves that we are working in this world for our Father in heaven, and that we're working in the most simple things. As yesh mefarzer v'nosef od, that we spend, we invest, but we get more. Dorach and pizor, by means of I say, giving out our energy, as fardint parnasa, we make a profit in spiritual profit, und sein parnasa in gashmis, and also a physical profit. Biz man poilt darnach, until we make as asher avo eladani seira, until it comes, like he said to Esav, we will meet each other in Seir. Esav said, let's go together. And Yaakov said, no, I'll meet you in Seir. And Rashi points out they never met in Seir. What was he talking about? He says, Varum, because avodas habirurin, this service of refining the world, but derech Kabbalah soul, by accepting the yoke, and chayus, and doing it in a happy way, was darlangt in penimius and nefesh, which this is touching on the inside of the Jew's soul, that he figures he thinks to himself, and he realizes, I am here in this world in order to serve the creator of the universe. What can be better than that? By means of this, it brings Seira, the coming of the Moshiach. Haprati, the individual Moshiach by yourself. And this is also a preparation for the Bias Moshiach Klali, the general Moshiach. Now again, what do we say Moshiach is? Generally speaking, Moshiach is just revealing the true potential of every single Jew and eventually every single human being in the world. And by means of that, it makes tremendous blessings of God, that the world becomes a tremendously healthy and productive and rich place for everybody. There, the Olam Moshim, then there will be that the Moshim, the ones who get saved, the Jewish people, they'll come into Mount Sinai, to Mount Zion, Zion, and they will judge the house of Esav. We will teach all of the non-Jews how to serve the creator of the universe. But it depends on us doing simple things, and by means of that, we let God do the rest and change the entire world for the better. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, see you all tomorrow, God willing, at 8:15 in the morning. Shalom Uvracha. And Chag Sameach. Tonight is Yud Tet Kislev, the holiday of holidays, the day that the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison and started the whole movement of Chabad Chassidut with tremendous wisdom and understanding and connection to the creator of the universe. Chag Sameach, everyone.